Greetings comic lovers and welcome back to Casually Comics, the channel where we chat all things comics, from reviews of comics new and old, to history, to anecdotes, to really wherever our whims take us. And last time I was so excited to see that so many of you had nice things to say about Booster Gold. It's always really nice when people are willing to go on a whim with you. Also, for some reason my legs are in the shot today. I don't know what I did differently. Also, I hope you all appreciate the glory that is the Nicolas Cage shirt. It's called 3 Cage Rising. All the Cage. Actually, not enough Cage. I wish the For the Bees Cage was on this. That would be amazing. Not the bees. Now, one of the things a bunch of you said in the comments from our last Booster video is that you were only familiar with him from the animated series, his various appearances. He's appeared in a bunch of incarnations. He was on Justice League Unlimited, he was in Brave and the Bold, he was in Justice League Action. Yes, I watched DC kids shows, don't judge me, and yes, I did it before I had kids. And I will do so after they leave. Actually, the TV shows were also the first place I saw him. I saw him first in Justice League Unlimited, in that episode where no one knows who he is, and they think he's Green Lantern, and it's great. In comics, I first saw him in 52. But I thought, since you were so receptive, let's dive a bit more into Booster. Let's take a look at his origin, which happens in issue 6. Before we dive in, please leave a like for more Booster and just more comics in general, and hit subscribe. Join us on this mad, eclectic comic book journey. At last, the origin of Booster Gold, guest starring Superman. Look at how squeezed into the corner that is. Like, we're like, we have to acknowledge that Superman is in this, but we don't really want to. Look, Superman. Look, up in the corner. Also, this cover tells you Booster facts that you will probably never need, but should know, like the fact that he's 6'5" and 220 pounds. The 6'5" threw me. I just never imagined Booster is that tall. I have no idea why. It's always like, 6'5", right? My perception refuses to adjust. It's a neat cover because it looks like the design sheet for the character, but then Booster's glove and ring are on the table, so it also looks like something maybe he was working on. Again, this is issue 6, so let's just do it. Just like issue 1, which we talked about last time, this comic does not open on Booster. Instead, it opens on young 12-year-old Jason Redfern. Because of a teacher's conference, there is no school, and Jason was able to sleep in a little later than usual. Now, a quick shower, a bowl of cereal, and chuckle from a Garfield strip later, he is pedaling his way through Metropolis Centennial Park. Okay, is Jason 12 or 45? Because he's got his morning routine set for life. Jason is out and about in a way that 80s kids always appear to be, that me as a 90s kid cannot fully comprehend, or perhaps I just had really overprotective parents. It could be either. But either way, he's about to have an epic tween adventure because he discovers a crashed spaceship complete with alien. Oh wow, you're an alien! A real alien! Come back, I won't hurt you! But the alien isn't running away from Jason, he's leading him away from an explosion. He saved his life, saved by a tiny robot alien. What more could a 12-year-old ask for? I'm Jason Redfern, but you can just call me Fern. What's your name? That's right, priorities. Establish the nickname now, especially with an alien, because if this becomes big, then everybody has to call you Fern. To be 12 and think the height of nicknamedom was Fern. Jason runs home and calls his mom a nerd when she asks him how many cookies he had. Nerd used to mean something different. The etymology has definitely morphed a bit over time. I only took one, Mom. Mothers can be so nerdy sometimes. The alien consumes the cookie for energy, and by that I mean like absorbs it, and uses that energy to then create a Superman symbol so that Fern can understand that he needs to find Superman. Fern has no idea how to do this, but he figures out that maybe there's somebody who does. This is because Booster's cereal ad is on the background. Booster has a cereal. His agent is amazing, making connections. Other superheroes don't have cereals, not even bootleg cereals. Booster's got an official cereal. Also, I see you, Coke can. Stuff like this wouldn't fly just a few short years later. That's why we had to stop calling Oreos Oreos and start calling them Chocos. Sorry, Martian Manhunter. Lured in by Booster's catchphrase, which is "they're boosterific," he decides that this is the way to go if he wants to contact Superman. Because Booster is on TV, in the phone book, and has an office, so it's a really good thing he doesn't have a nemesis. I'm here to see Booster. It's really important. Well, Fern, he's a very busy man. Is he, Trixie? Is he? There is no alternative. In order to see Booster, Jason must tell Trixie his story. I think that Jason just wanted to brag about having a pocket alien because he really could have come up with anything. At this point, we don't know Booster's age. He could even have said he was his son. He had so many options, but no, I mean, if you found a tiny alien, you want to tell people about the tiny alien. Booster is on the roof of his penthouse being a very busy man, being quizzed by Skeets about American history. Oh, also, this is all happening while he's relaxing in a jacuzzi. Booster knows what's up. Affirmative. Now we'll study the current slang terminology. How about something more fun, like rock and roll, or we could always go out and spend a little money. Really, Booster? You have so much now. Not true, Skeets. I don't have a large screen TV or a private helicopter yet. I mean, if you can fly, do you really need a private helicopter? You don't. But you do if you want to flex as hard as Booster does. Just throwing some slang that will date me, date the video, but also hopefully help out Booster. Because studying is hard. Booster's materialism is always there, and it can either be off-putting or relatable depending upon your outlook. Wanting to have nice things to the point where you might be willing to sell out to get them is not something that's completely beyond the pale of somebody being able to imagine it. It might not be appealing, but it's something a lot of people can at least understand. Anyway, hi Trixie. An alien! So he gets dressed up, cape and all, and rushes down to meet Fern, who's super into his headquarters. The kid would be disappointed to learn that most of the machinery is a set, built to impress the media during press conferences. How does Booster have all this backing? I need to know. I need his agent. I want a cereal. Fern convinces Booster that they do indeed need to find Superman. There's only one problem. Booster doesn't know how to do that. We saw this in issue 1. He's been trying to contact the Justice League by looking through the phone, or actually by having Trixie look through the phone. So he can't actually get in touch with Superman directly, but it's okay. He's gonna find a way. I always knew the day would come. I'm finally gonna meet him. I want you to call the planet, WGBS, all the media. The message, Booster Gold dares Superman meet him face to face at Baker Dam tomorrow morning. Situation critical. Earth in peril. Subtle, smooth, what could go wrong? I especially like the fact that he dared him like it's a playground. I double dog dare you to come out and save the world in these Superman, or are you chicken? Fern believes that all of this is great and of course refuses to leave. And he's an 80s kid in fiction, so it's fine. His mom's not gonna ask where he is. The truth is the two are just as excited as each other to meet Superman, which is kinda cute. It also gives you a window into Booster's mentality and maturity level. Meanwhile, Clark is already primed for this to go incredibly poorly because he is trapped with the thirstiest reporter that the Daily Planet has and listening to all the things she loves about Superman and Booster Gold. Mostly Booster though. What do you think about this morning's headlines? Can you imagine those two luscious hunks in the same room together? Calm down. She's gonna go home and write a fic about this, and then I'm gonna read it. And depending upon how good it is, maybe leave a comment or favorite it. Oh yeah, the man is definite Flash. Soups as well, white bread. If you say so, Trish. If Perry needs me, tell him I'm out doing research. And definitely not eating a tub of ice cream and crying. Booster has found a terrible costume for Fern, who now looks like a henchman poorly cosplaying as a Ninja Turtle, or like a little moon man from a 50s sci-fi movie. This costume is great. Thanks, Booster. It really isn't. I'm just as excited as Fern is. 500 years from now, Superman will stand out as one of the giants of history, the greatest hero of them all. To meet him is a great honor, and once I get his stamp of approval, the Justice League will beg me to join. Here you get a nice glimpse of the facets of Booster's personality. There is genuine awe and wonder there, but there's also a lot of self-interest and some selfishness. But again, they're kind of nicely married in a way that's relatable, in a way that you might know some people who are like this. Because of this, they play well when he tries to overcome them, because they're placed there so naturally. They're not overblown or over the top. Superman. It's a good thing Thirsty Office Reporter can't see this panel because she'd have a field day. This panel is great though. Superman placed above him, forcing him to look up at him as he already does, while also emphasizing what Superman thinks of him, which is very little. And next we get a bit of dialogue which perfectly illustrates why characters in universe have issues with Booster. I just want you to know that this really is an honor. I'm sure we will make a formidable team and perhaps even friends. As for the menace, let's just say I had to stretch things a little to get you here. You really should get an answering service or something. From genuine to obnoxious in such a way and so quickly that it makes his earlier statements appear disingenuous even if they're not. So is the curse of Booster. Even his good intentions are often overshadowed by how he presents them, which is often clumsily and with the veil of materialism that few other heroes like. Superman guesses in 2 seconds flat that Booster is from the future and he wants to know how, where, when, why. But Booster won't tell tell him, but thankfully there's Skeets. Skeets is just waiting to spill the tea. He's writing a tell-all book. He wants to give Superman a preview. Booster is Michael John Carter, and he is from the 25th century, which is the same century the Reverse Flash is from. He was a quarterback at Gotham U and was set to be a superstar. He was gonna be a pro player. There were gonna be endorsements, the whole 9 yards. But he had to wait to get there because of course he was a college player, so he's not being paid yet. And this was a wait he couldn't handle. He was impatient. He came from a poor neighborhood and he wanted to see the results right now and be able to elevate himself and his family. So he starts betting on football, including his own games. Or, as Skeets puts it, in his incredible zeal to have it all now, to live the good life, Booster threw away his future. Oh, also Booster was his football nickname, which is why he's so comfortable with people just calling him it, because he's used to it. He lost everything. He was kicked out of university, scholarship revoked, and sent back to the lower income quarters of Gotham he came from. Also, his family, which at this point consists of his mom and sister, completely disown him. They're not interested in hearing any explanations. They feel he's going the way of his father, who is a gambling addict who abandoned them. So, after all of this and things are said, he leaves, and he heads to Metropolis. Superman has no sympathy for any of this. That all sounds very unfortunate, but it still doesn't explain why or how he's here. Oof, Superman's tuning up his tiny violin. He wants to crush it between his thumb and forefinger. Anyway, back to Booster. Yes, his origin is still going. When they say origin issue, they mean origin issue. You're gonna get all the origin. He gets a job at the Metropolis Space Museum, which, props for continuity, is actually a fixture that was mentioned in Adam Strange's Strange Adventure comics. And while he worked there, he got to hear stories that people were telling about all of the exhibits, and it got him interested in 20th century heroes. So he does what any self-respecting 20-year-old would do. He goes and enrolls in Metropolis in a useless course for a useless degree. He's taking superheroes of the 20th century. So many job opportunities. He's gonna do great. Professor of superheroes of the 20th century. But Booster didn't see the course like everyone else. Instead, he applied his own values to it. If superheroes were the celebrities of their time, then why didn't they have endorsements, do shows and movies, just like any other star? In fact, they could be even richer. Booster, of course, is looking for the future that he was expecting and was cut off from, even though it was his own antics that got him cut off. He would talk about all this while he was patrolling the night shift with fellow security guard Skeets, security robot. I tell you, Skeets, it could work. I could be a superhero, and a rich one at that. You have two very large problems, Michael. 1, you have no superpowers. 2, knowing as much as they do of your past, the people will never accept you. While far from demotivate Booster, this actually spurs him into action, and that action is a crime spree. He all of a sudden realizes, wait a minute, I work at a museum full of high-tech space stuff that was used in superhero fights and just around the galaxy. So he just steals a bunch of it, bits and bobs to put his costume together. And of course, a time machine. Rip Hunter's time machine, which will actually matter a lot in Booster lore later. These two are gonna get really intertwined, even though Rip Hunter appeared years before. There's gonna be some interesting retconning that I'm kinda here for. Man out of time. Also, he takes Skeets because he knows that he's gonna need way more details about the 20th century than he's been provided with. Poor Skeets. I also like that in his theft, he managed to make sure that everything was still color coordinated. It also says that he took a Visa card from the time period, and that's how he's been paying for things pre the endorsements. This comic wants me to believe that this Visa card still worked going back in time. Okay. Also, I feel like that must have been a pretty, well, not the most exciting exhibit. From the Hall of Mundane Items. Look, a fully loaded 20th century Visa card. Please, no flash photography. Incredible. Booster Gold is nothing more than a 25th century crook. And here we have it, the hook in Booster's backstory. The thing that makes it incredibly solid. Like all good origins, it defines, marks, and shapes him. Booster without his origin is not Booster. Heroes will always judge him for this. He will forever be shaped by these actions that will eventually turn him into the hero that he becomes. He will always be second guessed, even when he becomes more genuine. And he will second guess himself. He'll actually develop some imposter syndrome, feeling that he doesn't deserve anything he has because of how he got it, while not knowing who he is without any of it. It's also important to note that Booster is max 22 at this point, maybe 21. Some people actually say 20, that all of this happened in the same year that he got kicked out. So that also makes some of the maturity level and wants have a bit more context. Not to say that he wouldn't be the same if he was older or younger, but it does kind of contextualize a lot of what's going on and make it fit more into the narrative that's being presented. Booster, meanwhile, is setting up the relationship he will have with Superman for a long time. Antagonistic. What's the big deal? Not like we're villains or anything. We use our powers for good. You know, truth, justice, and the American. Hold on, you're using your powers to get rich, and that should be the last thing on your mind if you're really a hero. You aren't Lord of the Heroes, you sanctimonious jerk. Who are you to tell me what's right and wrong anyway? I mean, he's pretty crushed. You meet one of your idols who you've had all these fantasies about being besties with, and they essentially tell you that they don't like you or your values. Just ouch. Anyway, wasn't this story about a tiny robot trying to find Superman with a 12-year-old? Why, yes it was. Let's get back to that. Also, Fern saw all of this. That's gonna make quite the diary entry. Suddenly, there's a blast of light, and everyone except for Skeets is down for the count. Also, Skeets asks about Superman and Booster, but not Jason. Why are you like this, Skeets? But it's fine, because then Skeets is also taken out by another tiny alien. So that was Booster's origin. I really like it. Yes, it's a huge info dump that just stops the story entirely. But it was interesting to learn, and unique. I appreciate that. It sounds simple on the surface, and it's easy to write him off because of it, but that's actually the hallmark of a lot of good origins: simplicity. The more simple it is, the more you can relate to it and the more it can be applied. It makes flexible, actually. Now, of course, some felt like Superman. Why should they read about a criminal from the future? What's heroic about that? And fair. But even at this point, in issue 6, it's clear that Booster has potential to be more than he is, even though he doesn't necessarily realize that yet. He's hit what for him is the bottom, and we're watching him trying to build himself out of that, albeit sometimes making some questionable life choices. Lots and lots of questionable life choices. The tiny alien plot actually goes somewhere, and it's rewarding to see Booster becoming more and more part of the DC universe, meeting and interacting with some of its heavy hitters. It's also a cool dynamic that a lot of them don't like him right off the bat. Not every character has to be instantly likable. I'm talking about in canon, not necessarily outside of canon. You have to care about them outside of canon or you won't read it. Also in canon, there's an exception to that: Blue Beetle, world's best bestie, blue and gold forever. So what do you think about Booster's origin? Do you like it, or is it just kind of bleh? Bit too simple, bit too full of theft? Let me know. Thanks for hanging out for the odyssey that was Booster's origin, and also let me know who your favorite obscure character or character that people don't seem to talk about a lot is down below. And while you're down there, please do all the YouTube things: like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell notifications so that you never miss a vid. I'll see you again soon. Thanks so much. Bye.